With a cannon like this, you might reasonably assume I'm somewhere at Fort Pickens. Well, I'm not. I'm actually standing in front of one of the most unusual luxury homes here in Pensacola. This is 835 Tanglewood Drive, sitting on more than an acre along Bayou Texar in Pensacola's Cordova Park neighborhood. And during one particularly interesting chapter of its life, this estate was known as Timeless Tanglewood. Today, my friend and colleague Larry with Kuhn Realty has given me permission to take you inside, and I can already tell you, this is not going to be a normal house tour. Because if the grandeur of the Gilded Age and the intrigue of Knives Out somehow met on the waterfront in Pensacola, it might look something like this. We have cannons guarding the driveway, we have armed bronze soldiers guarding the front door, and we haven't even made it inside yet. Come on in. So the current listing puts this home at approximately 6,500 square feet with 4 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, sitting on roughly 1.2 acres with about 125 feet along Bayou Texar. But the statistics may actually be the least interesting thing about it. Look around. The soaring entry, the floating staircase, the crystal chandelier, marble and granite, stained and leaded glass, carved arches. Everywhere you look, there's something else competing for your attention. This isn't minimalist luxury. This house has absolutely no interest in whispering, and that starts making considerably more sense when you understand one of its most famous former owners. For years, this was the home of legendary Pensacola trial attorney Fred Levin. Levin became one of the United States' most successful trial lawyers. His career included more than 25 verdicts exceeding $1 million, induction into the Trial Lawyer Hall of Fame, a significant role in Florida's tobacco legislation, and eventually his name being placed on the University of Florida Frederick G. Levin College of Law. And Timeless Tanglewood became, in many ways, an extension of his personality. Bold, elaborate, designed for entertaining, and filled with art, antiques, and historical objects. But there's another important part of this property's story. In 2018, Levin donated Timeless Tanglewood and much of its contents to the University of West Florida. The entire gift was valued at more than $8 million, and UWF described it at the time as the largest gift from a living donor in university history. Levin dedicated the property in honor of his longtime friend and law partner, Reuben Askew, who was Florida's 37th governor. UWF envisioned using the estate for academic programming, hospitality and tourism education, meetings, visiting scholars and dignitaries. So this wasn't simply the home of one of Pensacola's most prominent attorneys. For a period of its history, Timeless Tanglewood actually became part of the University of West Florida's educational mission. And that's a pretty unusual chapter in the life of a private residence. And this room gives you some of what the house was like during that era. You've got intricate ceilings, the stained glass, extraordinary woodwork, and this Italian carved marble fireplace with cherub detailing. But during Levin's ownership, the room apparently went even further. When UWF documented the estate in 2018, it described a 21-foot dining table crafted by Vic Cormier. Custom European china carrying the Tanglewood logo, commissioned artwork, bronze sculptures, and antique Victorian Tiffany silver. There was even another room dedicated to American composer Irving Berlin, containing pieces of Berlin's personal crystal and other historical objects. Of course, furnishings and collections move with ownership, but imagine this house at that moment in time. In some ways, it must have felt like walking through a private museum. And then there's the Titanic Room, because apparently normal room names weren't really a part of the program here. This lower level entertaining space was themed around the RMS Titanic, and there's a piece of this story that I originally assumed had to be real estate folklore. It wasn't. When UWF accepted the estate, the university documented a 1912 Renault automobile that was displayed here and described it as the sister car to one that was on board Titanic. Not simply a modern replica, an actual 1912 Renault from the same era and model lineage as the automobile carried aboard the ship. This car is no longer sitting here today, but knowing that it once stood in this room makes the room considerably more interesting. And suddenly that Knives Out comparison doesn't feel quite as ridiculous anymore. But the story of this property doesn't begin with Fred Levin. It doesn't even begin with this house. The setting itself has a history that goes back centuries. Bayou Texar. Long before Cordova Park existed, long before Timeless Tanglewood, these waters were already part of Pensacola's story. And one chapter of that story deserves to be remembered seriously. In 1818, during the closing period of the First Seminole War, American forces killed nearly 30 Muskogee women and children in what is now commemorated as the Battle massacre at Bayou Texar. Today, the city of Pensacola, Escambia County, the Santa Rosa Band of the Lower Muskogee, UWF Historic Trust, and the state of Florida have helped memorialize that event with a historical marker. And to be clear, I'm not suggesting that that happened on this particular property. In fact, it didn't. But it is part of the much older history of the waterway we're standing beside. And I think that's worth knowing, because Pensacola isn't simply a place where beautiful houses get built. There are layers here. Formal entertaining spaces, a private dock, and yes, a room named after the Titanic. But there are plenty of expensive houses. Very few have this much personality, or frankly, this many stories. This has been a private waterfront estate. It became known as Timeless Tanglewood. It was transformed during the Fred Levin era. It housed extraordinary collections. It became part of the University of West Florida, and now it's entered another chapter. So maybe this really wasn't a murder mystery at all. Although with the cannons, the armored guards, the stained glass, and the Titanic Room, I'm not completely ruling it out. The real mystery is probably much simpler. Who gets to write the next chapter? I'm Preston Murphy with the Harmon Murphy Group at Keller Williams Realty Gulf Coast, and this has been a look inside of 835 Tanglewood Drive on Bayou Texar in Pensacola, Florida, currently offered by my friend Larry with Kuhn Realty. And if you enjoy seeing not just what Pensacola luxury homes cost, but the stories that make them worth talking about, I'll see you at the next one.